did you get started? What was your inspiration to begin content creation on Twitch?
For me, I think the biggest motivation for it was representation. I think when I came out publicly, there was such a positive, what's the word? Reception. There was like so much positive public reception from just me kind of speaking out and being myself like exactly one time. And I thought, how can I share this, but in a larger and wider capacity? So much of me feeling like I could get through what I'm going through is understanding that other people have gone through and gotten through the same thing. And so personally, I realized that I was suddenly in a position to kind of supply that sort of journey for others. And I thought that that's something that I just had to capitalize on.
Wonderful. So how long have you been creating content on Twitch?
I've been streaming on Twitch for about 2.5 years now. When I knew that I wanted to make content, I did not know that I wanted to be a streamer. I initially thought maybe YouTube videos or something like that, but eventually I kind of landed on, I feel like I have a much harder time being okay with shipping one product at a time, as opposed to just like doing the thing for an extended period of time. So I don't have to worry about like being a perfectionist with one thing. And I think that's something I really like about streaming, is you could just kind of be yourself. And, sometimes you have good streams, sometimes you have bad streams, but ultimately you have streams. That's kind of, that's how it goes.
And so you said you only ship one thing at a time. What are some of the other avenues and outlets of content creation that you've previously done? Is there anything that you're doing currently outside of the live streams?
Well, previous to when I was a streamer, I was actually a full-time tournament organizer. Like I was an event coordinator. And so I worked with a lot of content creators. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of different avenues. And I mainly reside on Twitch and Twitter as my forms of content. I do think that, there's obviously big live streams that I do, but on the other end of things is sometimes just like a happy tweet or a little like progress update on my life is, something that makes somebody else smile. So there's a lot of really different forms of putting out content. But
so when you started content creation, did you come out at the start of your content creation career, or was it in the midst?
No, it was prior to even considering becoming a content creator. Okay. Me becoming a content creator was entirely a reaction to the public reception of me coming out. So like I was like a tournament organizer. I didn't have a lot of Twitter followers. I had like maybe like 500 Twitter followers, but I put that tweet out and it got up to like, I think it got almost 1 million impressions, which is crazy.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, so that was like, and then just being able to see the impact that I had on folks. Like I wasn't a content creator or anything. It was just me speaking up and how much good that did. So that's what got me to go to content creation. I would have never done it otherwise.
What's that path of advocacy looked like since then, since that moment? What has that path of being someone who not only advocated for themselves and came out, but also, you said that this was a platform for you to do good for others who may be experiencing having a similar experience. What does that look like over the last couple of years?
Well, I think the biggest motivator in my job is to make people kind of meaningfully happy in a digestible way. I can't go in and change someone's life just because I want to, but I can put myself out there in, friendly and comfortable capacity and make sure to curate a friendly and comfortable community in which people can, unwind, be themselves, feel like they can see a bit of themselves in me or in the folks that hang out on my stream and smile a bit and laugh a bit and have a good time, maybe vent some of their frustrations. And I think over time, I've really shifted. I think there was a lot of stuff that I think there was a lot of ways I've matured as a content creator in just letting the person that I am and the mood that I'm in be very free flowing. And I think that's actually very important in curating a comfortable community, because there was certainly a point in time when I first started when I was trying to always be cheerful or try not to talk about the bad stuff. But the bad stuff is just as healthy as the good stuff. Like you can't really have you can't feel your you can't really have ups without downs as well. So I think it's important that sorry, I got a bit derailed from the original question.
No, it was
But yeah, no, I
wonderful.
mean, it's nice because certainly I set out on a path of representation, but I think I've been lucky enough to have become a big enough content creator where, I impact so many people. I mean, it's just natural that a majority of folks are not marginalized, but it doesn't really stop them from having a good time and enjoying the stream as well. I think it's just important that we acknowledge that every human wants to be happy and comfortable. And obviously that means more work for marginalized folks. But I think that, just the average person who tunes in is also having a happy and comfortable time. And I think that's like extremely possible on a widespread note if more people are just generally accepting and open and,
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on something and you said a word that's come up several times with conversations and something as someone who manages and works and helps build communities is the concept of curation of your community. And so part of that is being very discerning about who's in your community and how they're treating you as a content creator, but also your fellow community members. Can you talk about what that, what is the kind of like the quote unquote brass tacks of how do you manage and curate that, and how have you done that over these last several years to create a sort of, I would think, a safe space for yourself and for other folks who find you?
Yeah, I mean, it's really just like immediately point out and repel unacceptable behaviors. I think there's a lot of folks who may sometimes just kind of bite the bullet because they don't want to come off as rude or mean or they want to give people chances. But I think at the end of the day, if someone does something rude or unacceptable to either myself or someone else in the community, I just call them out on it. And, you'll immediately be able to see what this person's intentions are by how they react. I mean, I've had plenty of people come in and say something really freaking rude. And I'm like, hey, that's awful. Why would you say that? And they're like, oh, geez, I honestly had no idea. I'm so sorry. Like, I really appreciate you taking the time to call me out. And it's like, those people have stuck around and learned a lot. And you can tell, but there's also a very important thing that like a lot of the people who come into communities and are jerks, they're usually there to be a jerk. Right. And so it's important that you don't feel too bad about calling out the jerks and having a pretty strict policy for the jerks, like, pretty immediately banning things that are like very hateful, because the folks that are being jerks by accident, which again, it's pretty hard to be a jerk by accident. The people who are jerks by accident, they figure themselves out. I think it's important to be a lot more strict and I guess like unafraid in enforcing just like general human kindness and politeness in communities.
So you've created this community that is also seems to have been very receptive to your efforts for fundraising over the last couple of years. I think, namely, last year you set up a campaign for Trans Lifeline. Talk about what that was like and how your community rallied behind, and any other creators that you banded with to really make this impactful event.
Oh gosh, well, everything timed pretty perfectly because that was just around the time when I had started playing a lot of Among Us. And so it was a really golden opportunity given that I was meeting so many new content creators and just, inadvertently collaborating with everybody on a day-by-day basis just by playing in lobbies with them. Because for people who are unfamiliar, 10 people play in one Among Us lobby together. And I think that in itself lined up a great situation. And then Twitch also presented an opportunity for ambassadors of like, hey, if you want to do a charity stream, you can, fill out this form and let us know what you're thinking, and we can let you know how much money we can match there. And so that lined up, those two lined up. And then of course, I hadn't actually done a charity stream in a while. And I was like, you know what, F it. I'm going to put all of my time and energy into this, and I want it to be perfect. And so I had a whole series of spreadsheets planning everything, just like figuring out exactly what time who was going to play in what lobby with me, and exactly, just sorting people out, sort of back to my roots as an event coordinator. And And so much of the work that I put into was kind of invisible to my community. You know, obviously, people hear the announcement about it a few days before, maybe a week before, and then they sit down in the stream, and the stream's a blast. But for me, it was a lot. There was so much more to it. There was so much planning, and there was definitely a lot of anxiety and just excitement that I had to like keep to myself for quite a while. Because, you know, when you're planning this stuff, when you're planning something really big, you know, that's kind of what goes along with it. Now, certainly charity streams could be put out in like extremely digestible forms. Like they don't always have to be a grand spectacle. It just turned out that mine happened to be. But you know, the people, okay, so I'll talk about the community first. My community and other streamers' communities banded together in such a beautiful way. Like everyone just sat down, and for you know 4 or 5 hours, I'm like really proud to say that, I don't know, probably like 10% of the viewership on Twitch was engaged in like a pro trans rights stream, charity stream. Like that's an impact that I never thought I'd alone be able to kind of push ever. Like that's crazy. There were so many between everybody who was streaming it, and I was up on the front page for it too, and there were people rating me and stuff like that. It was a crazy amount. It's certainly more than you ever really see on a day-to-day. So that and it was really sweet seeing so many people that have been in my community for so long rally behind it. But then there were also so many new folks who just swung by just for the sake of doing some good, whether they were even into the content or not. There were a lot of folks who just came by because they were just compelled to help, because they were sort of drawn to the cause, and had this like cheerful medium in which to celebrate their support for Trans Lifeline. You know, it's a little easier for the average person to like throw down a donation when it means like, you know, like happy, excited, wacky content creators are going to do something funny because of it, as opposed to like, I mean, certainly everyone is happy. You know, a lot of people are happy to donate money, but I think putting it in stream form is like really important in helping people feel like they're part of the experience, whatever amount more that you can. So.
Yeah. So you mentioned Twitch and the Twitch match, and I think that's always like something. It's always exciting. I clipped your reaction to the match, and that was beautiful and awesome.
Yeah.
But they matched up to 10,000, right? So that was their match. But then you went on to fundraise a total. So if we back out that 10 grand, you raised almost $28,000 for trans.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal. And that's the power that you brought after 2 years of streaming and building this community.
Yeah, it's funny actually. Almost to the day, that was very close to my 2-year anniversary for starting the stream.
Yeah, it's exciting and it's commendable, and obviously one of the reasons why I wanted to chat with you. You hit up I know we were going to talk about best practices, but you kind of covered a couple of best practices that I always like to hear the content creator say, because I can say it all day, but when they hear it from somebody who's done it and has had success, it means something else. You did some planning. Like you took the time, like you didn't just turn on the camera and go live. You took the effort to make it impactful, to make it fun.
I wanted to make it special, honestly. Yeah. I wanted to make it, I wanted to put a lot of tender love and care. Like I wanted to make sure that when I finished the stream, I was really proud of the product I put out, and make sure that I made the most out of the opportunity I was given.
No, that's absolutely wonderful. And it shows. Like, I think that you definitely could see that in watching. I don't know if any of your videos are still up for that, but I know that when I was reviewing the stream, it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun watching you interact with your guests and
it was a blast. I mean, I do want to also take a moment and credit the streamers that I played with, because I think it's really commendable watching, like, you know, really big streamers just fully leverage their communities into this stuff. I mean, I got hosts from like a lot of really huge folks, and I had a lot of really huge folks playing with me, and that was really, you know, I really appreciated that. But some folks even went one step further of particularly one streamer, and then also one friend of mine who's not even a streamer, but he's actually a pro poker player who I played a lot of Among Us with. And so those two people, so Trainwrecks was the streamer, and he's a real big streamer, and I really only knew him through Among Us for like a month. So And then the other person was Scott Seaver, who's like one of the highest all-time earners in poker. So the two of them were both in the lobby, and it was funny because they ended up doing this little thing where, like, you know what, one of our other streamer friends kept on getting voted out, and then I was like, hey, Train, how about every time you vote for our other friend Wolfabell, like, how about you like donate some amount to charity? And he's like, you know what, you're on. And so, and then it just like became this game that every time he voted for our friend to get out, he would donate an extra $100. And Scott was like, you know what, I'll match it. And by the end of the night, by the end of the session, they you know, the total was like 20. And Train was like, you know what, I'll just bring in a 3,000. He just throws down 3,000 for Trans Lifeline. And then Scott just immediately follows. And I'm like, oh my God. And so it was crazy. It was a really excellent compilation of watching just how great, you know, a community coming together and every individual out there coming together contributes to the big picture. But it was also really nice to see people who have so much to leverage also kind of put their all into it as well. So it was really touching from every angle. Like everyone kind of gave what they could, and I think that's so important too.
Yeah, we love to see the intersection of so many different communities coming together for such an amazing cause.
Yeah.
So did you catch the, I mean, because you did a couple other fundraisers prior to this, but this is by far like the largest effort that you put forward. So did you catch the charity bug, or are you like, I'm taking a break? You know, what's next for you for fundraising?
Well, actually, I will say that I think so after that, I was like, woof, that was a lot. Because I think, you know, certainly a lot of people can do this in a lot of different capacities. But I think for me, I always kind of want it to be this grand thing. And that takes a lot of energy out of me. Like, you know, there's obviously different levels of energy that it takes out of different people. And of course, depending on what exactly they're doing. But I did really, really enjoy that I was able to sort of like proctor this impact. Like I was able to just sort of drive this, like because of me that day, we were able to donate, you know, collectively like what, $37,000 to Trans Lifeline. Like that's crazy. And that's so in line with why I do what I do. Like the main driving factor behind content creation, of course, you know, I'm a social person and I like talking and I like playing games. I mean, obviously that's always that's challenging for me and I like it, but you know, the core, and it sounds cheesy, but like the core of everything I do is that I just want to make people meaningfully happy and I want to help people. And I think that charity work goes hand in hand with that a lot. And so actually, you're probably the first person I'm telling, and I'm sure by the time this comes out, it will be a bit more public, but I am planning a charity stream for March 31st for Trans Day of Visibility.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, that is, I'm definitely going to do more regular. Well, by regular, I mean maybe only like 1, 2, or 3 times a year. But I think after doing that and seeing how much of an impact I was able to make, it's like it's such a beautiful, you know, activity that I'm able to partake in, and it's something that I definitely keep on doing as long as I'm a content creator.
I love to hear that, and so thank you for that. So as we think about like your first time doing this, and obviously, you know, you've had some ramp up in terms of, you know, your career as a content creator, but let's say that you're maybe a newer content creator, or, you know, the quote unquote small streamer, you know, that we're trying to move away from, and typically, you know, in our culture and in our industry. But what would you say to them if they're like, I really want to fundraise and help a charity, but what's the thing that you would get them to kind of get out the door? What's something you can tell them to motivate them?
Every bit counts. Every little piece of energy or effort made by any one individual counts, in any capacity. I mean, it's just, you know, you don't have to be a giant streamer. You don't have to throw down thousands or even hundreds of dollars. I mean, if you feel that you want to help and you put up a campaign, just the fact that you're doing it matters so much. The fact that any one person at any point in time could see it and think to support a great cause, or smile at the charitable activities that you're partaking in. I think it's important to understand that you're doing good on any scale, and that it is extremely, I think in life generally, it's not really fair to ourselves to try to compare ourselves to others. And I think this especially resonates for streaming and content creation. And it should carry on exactly to charity as well, in that, you are going to do exactly how you're going to do, and it's going to go exactly how it goes. And that shouldn't be compared to last time or to next time, or what your neighbor did or what your friend did or anything. If you want to set out and do some good, that's extremely valid and that's extremely excellent. And whatever you end up doing, whatever your community ends up putting together, it's all excellent in any capacity.
I love that. That's perfect. Absolutely perfect advice. I'd love to hear that. So, okay, last question.
Sure.
And it may be a little bit contrived at this point, but what's the thing that you're thinking of to go do post pandemic that you've had anxiety? Maybe you've had anxiety about doing. What's the first thing? Everybody's healthy. You're safe to go out. What do you want to go do? Where will we see Bloody in the world?
Well, there's two different answers. But the main one, so the side one is like, I actually just got vaccinated a few days ago. And so I think for one is like, once I'm fully vaccinated, I think the first thing I want to do is go play some poker. And just, I love card games so much. And it just like, I live in Austin. And so gambling is not legal, but poker is legal, because there's a very interesting like legal distinction between the two of them. And so there's like these nice little home owned poker rooms that like, it's like a really chill and friendly environment where you just go get to play some cards. And I want to, go play in some local game stores, go play some Magic and stuff. That's the thing I miss the most about like smaller scale, like on a micro level, like what I miss the most about the world being, closed. But on a greater scale, I'm definitely going to like travel. Like obviously the first convention that I get to go to, I'm definitely going to that. But even something like, in playing Among Us, I've made so many friends because, it's, you sit there with 9 other people and you murder each other. How could you not become best friends? And so I think the first big travel place I'm going to go to, if it's not a convention, is probably going to be London. I made so many friends in the UK, and I would, I'd be really excited for that to be the first vacation that I end up taking.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Travel, and those simple little comforts that we kind of maybe took for granted. I'd love to hear it. Bloody, I don't want to take too much more of your time. I do appreciate you taking time to chat with me today. Love hearing about your journey and appreciate all the hard work you've done with your community and fundraising. Please let us know if you need anything from us at the Tiltify team. But again, we're grateful for you, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of the month leading up until the 31st. For your charity stream.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's always fun to chat about this kind of stuff.